And Ashley, I think we are ready to roll. I see all the members, so I think we're set.
All right, sounds great. Well, welcome everybody. I hope you're having a great new year. Welcome to the 978th meeting of the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy. I will now read the ethics statement. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from any participation in that particular matter involved. All righty. Looks like we're good, Jay.
We are. So our first item on the agenda, of course, would be review and approval of the minutes. We have two meetings worth of minutes here, the November 17th meeting and the January 11th emergency meeting. Of course, you can take those separately or together as you wish.
All right. Anybody have any questions, anything to add to those considerations of meetings? The emergency meeting and also the November meeting. All right, is there a motion to approve both of those meeting minutes?
So moved.
All right, we have a move from Michelle. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Wallace to second those. All in favor, say aye. Andy?
Aye.
Keith?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
And Wallace?
Aye.
And I as well. So both November 2020 and the January emergency meeting motion passes to approve both of those meeting minutes.
Very good. Thanks, y'all. Michelle, I see you have your hand up. I just want to make sure that you didn't have a question.
No, I saw Keith throw his hand up and then I didn't click back on it.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, Keith.
Well, Madam
Don't
President,
ever follow my lead ever.
that is not true, Keith.
See, you got me in trouble already.
Madam President, as you all know, each year you guys file a statement of economic interest that is reviewed by the State Ethics Commission to identify any actual or potential conflicts of interest that could impact your service as a member of the Board of Pharmacy. And in fact, just a real quick reminder that, and I will bring this back up, of course, at the February and March meetings, the 2021 statements of economic interest are due on or before April 15th, 2021. And I'll keep pestering you about that, but they're very easy to file online. And I suspect each of you will be in a position to file a no change statement of economic interest. But we did receive We did receive last week 3 of your statements of economic interest that have been reviewed by the Ethics Commission. We received Keith's, and we received Ashley's, and we received Bill's. And under the State Ethics Act, we have to demonstrate that we have reviewed those as a body. Each of those 3 reviews of statement of economic interest identified no actual conflicts of interest. Each of the 3, I'm just pausing. I think somebody who just joined may be unmuted and consuming food of some sort. So if you would check your mic. Each of the 3 of you did have a note in your review of your statement of economic interest that you had a potential conflict of interest, and that is the standard potential conflict of interest that is always identified by the Ethics Commission for board members who are pharmacists, because you practice the profession that for which you also serve on the regulatory board. So that is just a reminder that because you practice in the field that you regulate, you have to be sensitive and attentive to conflicts of interest as they may arise during your term of service. And of course, you all are current on your State Ethics and Government Act training, and so you know how to recognize those conflicts and what actions to take. And as always, Clint and I are available anytime if you have a question about any of those. So that's a review of those letters. Just keep doing what you all have always done, and be very attentive to the possibilities of conflict of interest and identifying them proactively. So happy to answer any questions that anybody may have about any of those. Clint, I don't think that under the State Ethics Act, we need an actual motion to approve those. I just think as long as the minutes reflect that they've been reviewed. You're muted, Clint.
Jay, quick question. This is Andy.
Yep.
Win or lose election, I should do it this year
Yes.
because there would be that 1 month
Correct.
period that needed covered. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. They don't give you a break on that. Clint, I'm sorry, you were muted, and so I didn't hear your response to the. There you go.
No, that's fine. I mean,
Very
I don't
good.
know what we would approve other than we've approved that we've got them.
Right. So we'd say nice. We would approve the job of the Ethics Commission doing that comprehensive review. So very good. Then, with if there aren't any other questions on those, we'll go ahead and move into COVID-19 matters. Now, start out by reporting, and Andy certainly can jump in on this. So I'll be brief. As you all know, the board Budget and Finance Committee approved a contract and a subsequent amendment to the same contract for the board to sponsor a COVID vaccination two-part, total of 2-hour COVID vaccination continuing education course for pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. And that through that contract, the board is supporting financially the provision of that course to up to 3,000 pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. The live events presentations took place on January 6th and January 13th. The faculty members were State Health Director Betsy Tilson and DHHS pharmacist Amanda Fuller Moore. Probably there are no two people in the state who know more about the COVID vaccination effort than those two. So we've had the live program, and Andy, any update you want to give on that?
Well, first,
I think Andy, just by the way, I think folks are particularly interested in knowing when the on-demand version is going to be available, and maybe it already is.
Right. First, and as I said, both sessions, thank you to my fellow board members for supporting the initiative. It went very well. It was very well received by folks. I think people are getting a lot of use out of the information. We had a little bit of audio issue with Dr. Tilson, which, in our virtual world, it's hard to get away from the risks that you take with technology. As you can imagine, when you have a platform put together and 1,000 people registered, the fear and anxiety that you have leading up to it when you're responsible for it, that something's going to go wrong. But it didn't. Other than a little minor audio stuff, the technology worked fine, and so forth. So we were well prepared. As it relates to the on-demand for session 1, based on the latest email, should be available today. So session 1 should be available today. We had to do some editing on the front end and on the back end to remove the codes that we give for people to award credit. We need to have a different code for non-live participants, and there's logistics for that and reasons why. And then in the first session, we droned on, Dr. Moore and Dr. Tilson and myself, and I think Jay too, hung around for a good half an hour afterwards. So we had to find a cutting off point on that one. So you should see the availability of that will be emailed out from us, and we will forward it to the board as well. And then I suspect that part 2 will be available late this week. So again, thank you. It was an opportunity to let Campbell get some good strokes. Carolina got some good strokes when we did this with the opioid crisis and the CSRS. And it was nice to have the opportunity for those of you that didn't join. I used a Campbell background of the football stadium on the 6th and a Campbell background of the basketball arena with the running camel in the background on the 13th. So I tried to give it a little bit of an orange and black flair there, but of course, obviously recognize that it was a partnership. So I just can't say thank you enough for that opportunity, and the financial windfall that will be there for us during a time when budgets are tight at private schools right now. And so thank you for the opportunity to take care of folks in the state and also get paid a little bit of something for doing it. It means a lot. Thank you.
So, Andy, this is Ashley, and I have a question. So the information about the recorded sessions, will that be on, I guess you'll forward that to Jay or Kristen so they can get that on the board website so that they have a link to those live sessions?
Yes, ma'am, we'll do that. We also have a waiting list of people that couldn't get in for the live. So we've got hundreds of people that are automatically going to get that link emailed to them. But I'll also forward it to Jay, or I'll get Samantha to forward it to Jay for us to disseminate it from the board. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say I think it was great information. The first one was awesome. I think it really gave a breakdown of the different types of vaccines and what we needed to know. But the second one in particular, and I'm anxious for people to see that one because I think that brought home so much information about where we stand as pharmacists. So to me, that one really, like, I had a whole list of questions and a call with Amanda Moore the next day, but 95% of my questions were answered in that second CE. So if we can get that out to pharmacists as soon as possible, I think that's going to be really where a lot of our questions are answered.
Yeah.
But thank you for everything, because it was a wonderful CE.
Thank you for that. And I also need to thank Jay, because one of the things that Jay did that was very helpful is he triaged questions in the Q&A box during both presentations and took some of those questions and handled them live so that folks, we wouldn't have such a pileup of questions at the end. So Jay, thanks for being there after hours and being willing to engage in that. Thanks, buddy.
Oh yeah. Happy to do it. Glad to provide the information. And obviously it's helpful to me too, Andy, because if folks are asking questions in that chat box, I know there are probably 1,000 other pharmacists who have the same question someplace. So very helpful. And Michelle and Ashley, so you all get appropriate credit too. Worked very quickly and diligently to review the contract proposals and get them approved on our end. So for both the original and the follow-up. So thank you both for being so super responsive on that.
You're welcome. I think Keith might have a question or comment.
I just had a question regarding the on-demand portion. Well, is there going to be a limit to how many people can use it at one time? Because I think it's going to be a high demand for that, because I know you said you had several hundred people waiting to see it. So are you guys prepared to handle that volume of people?
Yeah, we shouldn't have any problem from a standpoint of people getting into the system and there being maybe 100 or 200 people watching it at the same time. We run into a little bit of trouble on the backside of the computer program that we use to award credit, where sometimes if a whole lot of people go in at one time to get their credit awarded and fill out the evaluation, that's where we run into a little bit of a bottleneck sometimes. But that piece, we can have them monitor through CME Tracker. But the recording itself and access to that shouldn't be a problem, Keith.
Okay.
If we should literally be able to handle hundreds of people at one time.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It looks like Bill's got a question as well.
How much did the board have to spend for this continuing ed? I mean, this is a lot of people that we interfaced with. So I'm just curious in round numbers.
Right. Well, no, I can tell you the exact number. The total possible expenditure would be just a little bit north of $45,000. Now that depends on the uptake, but that provides. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not right. It's the total possible expenditure is around $55,000, because that would include all of the cost of preparing, hosting, putting on the program, the faculty members, and the like, and then a fee a per participant fee to Campbell for doing the CE Monitor stuff to award the credit. So up to $55,000, but where we landed was expenditure of up to $45,000, which would cover up to 3,000 participants. And we certainly had the money to do that. And Bill, if we get to a point where 3,000 folks have taken the course and there continues to be a high demand for it, there's nothing that would stop us from going back and considering whether we want to open that up for even some more. The original contract, because we just didn't know what the response was going to be, the original contract capped the fees at 1,000 participants, but gosh, Andy, y'all had 1,000 participants signed up within 48 hours or so.
4 days. Yeah.
4 days of opening up. So we knew there was going to say we punched it up to 3,000 and can revisit if we need to.
Thank you. I think it's good information that pharmacists in the state know that some of their money that they pay to the board, is used this way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that continuing ed is not cheap.
And Andy, I have one question for those who actually were in the live sessions for the first two. If we want to review those again, I feel like I call everything, but then I'm like, man, maybe I missed something and maybe I'll catch it around the second time. We can also go back and see that again, right? Obviously not get the CE credit, but obviously be able to watch the recording so that we're able to pick up on things that we missed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
You can revisit it. You just wouldn't, you wouldn't apply for credit. You could sit down if you wanted to get your team around the computer and watch a couple of things. Some folks might want to do that. And so, yes, do it.
Perfect.
And Andy, I think the slides were available to the participants as well, which I know is a poor substitute for re-listening, but I think those didn't Betsy and make those available?
They both did. Yeah. Both Amanda and Betsy put those out there, and those will be when you go in to do the non-live or recorded session, there'll be a link to those slides. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
We'll certainly convey our thanks as well to Samantha, who I know has been pulling the laboring oar on all of that.
Yeah, she is definitely behind the scenes making it all come together. So I will pass those things on to her.
Yeah, much appreciated. She's very easy and delightful to work with.
Thank you, Jay. I think we'll keep her.
Funny, she didn't say the same thing about you. Well, that's and I don't mean to get in the middle of all that. All right, let me move on then to the next thing. Also, an update. I think all are aware. So we talked about this at the October and November board meetings. As you all recall, there is a state law that was passed back in May that authorized the state health director, when COVID vaccines were available, to initiate a process to create a standing order for pharmacists to administer the COVID-19 vaccine. And as you all know, Dr. Tilson initiated that process back toward the end of December, and effective December 27th, the state standing order was issued. The standing order, the screening questionnaire, various information for patients and for providers, all of those things are on the board's website, and Kristen has included those in the weekly informational email that we send out to all pharmacists. If you get questions about any of that, obviously you can send folks to me at any time, but a reminder that the state standing order is an option. It does not in any way replace or supersede the authority granted by the United States Department of Health and Human Services under the PrEP Act for pharmacists to order and administer COVID-19 vaccines. I think that two of the particularly helpful aspects of the state standing order are, number one, that was something that I know that North Carolina Medicaid needed to be in existence to be able to issue payment for administration of COVID-19 vaccine for Medicaid patients. And the second thing is that the use of the state standing order may create certain administrative advantages for pharmacies that are creating and maintaining records of giving vaccine. If you'd rather input Dr. Tilson as the quote prescriber, unquote, rather than have to put in an individual pharmacist exercising their own authority, you can do that. Either way is fine, but those are again complementary authorities, not mutually exclusive authorities. So I do know that there continues to be some discussion over at the state about potential executive order waivers or other things that may wind up relating to COVID vaccination in some ways. I'm keeping my ear to the ground on that, obviously, and state DHHS has been really terrific in communicating those issues with me. So if something comes out that requires action by the board on any of those, we'll be sure. I'll get in touch with all of you, and if it's something that can't wait until the February retreat, we can round up. But thanks to all of y'all who very quickly reviewed the materials that Dr. Tilson had prepared to provide comment on it, so that we could get that in place very, very quickly. And I'll pause there for questions or discussion. Hearing none. I have also included in your packet on December 29th, Secretary Cohen at DHHS sent a letter to the nursing, pharmacy, dental, and medical boards and copied it to some associations asking for recommendations for enforcement actions if they were necessary. Enforcement actions if they were necessary for any providers who, quote, flagrantly violate the vaccination prioritization plan and who attempt to profit financially from those types of violations. We were under a very short deadline to respond on that. I've copied you all the letter that Crystal Tillman at the nursing board and Bobby White jointly signed, and I think I've copied you on the medical board's letter as well, which is substantively identical, and which all the boards stated that if there were some instance of flagrant violations of the vaccination prioritization plan and black marketeering, that sort of thing, that certainly we all believe that we have the authority and resources we would need to take action in that. But as you all will see from the letter, we also made clear that we think and are confident that practitioners are working hard and selflessly to implement the vaccination program, and that we look forward to continuing to work with DHHS to make sure folks understand what that plan is, particularly as it changes, as it has, you all know, and probably will continue to change as we get new data, new clinical information, and as the amount of vaccine available starts to increase. But we made clear that we think that the educational approach is what we'll be going with. And I'm very confident that DHHS shares that view in all respects, and they are very appreciative of the hard work that practitioners are doing. But I do want to pause there in case you had any questions on that.
I have a question. Is it, does the financial part of it have to be in place for the flagrant violation part to be prosecuted?
Now, I don't think there's a necessary component of any of that. I think that DHHS was just giving examples of some sort of scenarios that they thought could be problematic. Now, I do want to make very clear that neither I nor anybody at DHHS is aware of anybody engaging in in any type of intentional black marketeering or line jumping type stuff. So,
and it may just be an academic question. I was just more curious than anything if both conditions had to be in place for there to be charges.
No, I don't think so. And again, we'd have to take those on their individual facts.
Sure.
And one of the things that we've been, it was very careful, as you'd see in those letters, is that we've all pointed out that it's critically important that that a message not be communicated out to practitioners of all sort, that any deviation of any sort from the vaccination prioritization plan puts somebody in jeopardy of any sort of punitive consequence, because you all know that, again, the plan changes. And also folks need to have sufficient flexibility. What we don't want folks to do is receive some message that deviations of any sort are so problematic that, for example, somebody gets to the end of the day and they've got some doses of vaccine that are about to go bad, and instead of giving them to somebody who may be available to keep from wasting them, but that person may not be in the current phase, that they would throw it away instead. And that is certainly not, DHHS has no intention that kind of thing occur. I think they were just trying to think through, if you had a real worst case scenario type situation, what would be the approaches to deal with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are all good questions, Bill, on that. Well, great. The only other thing that's come up sort of in this space is I've gotten a handful, I wouldn't say it's a lot, I've gotten a handful of inquiries from pharmacists who have been retired, sometimes for a substantial period of time. As you all know, we have in place right now, and have had in place since March, a process whereby a pharmacist who has a North Carolina licensed pharmacist whose license has been inactive for 2 years or less, and they want to reactivate their license quickly to assist in the COVID pandemic, we have a process in place now to do that. And you guys approved that. I can't remember if it was at the March or April meeting, one of the two. And we've got that in place. And as those come in, we have been able to review and act on those usually within a few minutes of getting those. So I think it works pretty well. There have been a few inquiries from folks who may have been without a license for longer periods of time, sometimes for substantially longer periods of time. And I've explained to those folks, what the policy is and why it is, but I wanted to bring it back to you all to see if you're still comfortable with the policy we have, if we needed to discuss any changes. And just a reminder that the 2-year cutoff was selected because under board rules and general policies, a pharmacist who has been out of practice for 2 years or less can reinstate that license pretty easily. That's deemed that they've not been out of practice so long that their fundamental knowledge and competency is likely to be in substantial doubt. And so the 2-year cutoff was picked because it aligns with that judgment. For my part, I think that's probably still the right cut line, but I wanted to make y'all aware that the inquiries have been made and see if there was any adjustment that we needed to make.
I think Bill wants to add something.
I'm fine with the 2-year thing. Does that give them a full license, or is it just a license for the express purpose?
No, it's a full license to get reactivated. What we have been doing, part of is we don't just reactivate it willy-nilly. We do ask that they identify where they're going to be practicing, and that's obviously for our purposes of tracking where people go. We collect that information anyway in our database, but also making sure that as folks are reactivating, that they are plugging themselves in to help with the COVID pandemic in a way that doesn't disrupt plans and the like. So, but no, it's a full license when it reactivates.
Do you know if any of those folks have been able to plug in anywhere?
Yes, they have. There have been several folks who they've been able to reactivate and who are immunizers and are trained immunizers and the like. They've been able to plug in and hook up with usually so far it's been health systems that are doing vaccination clinics, and they've been able to hook up with those folks to help.
Jay, I think I might have asked you this the other day. I can't remember. We've had obviously a surge of pharmacists that are interested in training to become immunizers, and we are putting together obviously a program to train technicians as well through
Right.
AHA. So we've got a number of dates coming up. UNC is doing similar things. The question that came up a couple times is, would there be a vehicle by which an immunizing pharmacist from another state that's not licensed here, if needed, could they come over to our state to help with injections only? Is that I just wonder, there was two questions about that that I've gotten, and I didn't really know how to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the short answer is if you guys wanted to set up a waiver process to do that, you could set up a waiver process to do that. We'd have to think about seeing if we could plug back into the concern, obviously, that we run through with those is somebody come from out of state. We want some assurance that we've done an appropriate background on those folks. So potentially we could, if that's something there was a need to do, we could plug back in or see if we could plug back in with Passport and stand that back up. As to a need, just some numbers. We have right now, Missy gave me the numbers last week, north of 7,600 pharmacists, North Carolina licensed pharmacists who live in North Carolina who are qualified immunizers, 7,600, and more coming on board every day with that. And you're right, Andy, that the schools are really stepping up now and offering the certification courses. So that's a lot of folks out there. So I at least have not been getting calls that there's a need. I have a little bit of reluctance to sort of throw the doors wide open on that if there isn't a need. But I defer to you guys on that. And if there were a demonstrated need, we could probably set it up relatively quickly, but I'm just not sure that there is one. And I also don't, as a practical matter, Andy, I'm not sure I think if we were going to sort of throw the out-of-state license waiver back into effect and go back with Passport, from an administrative standpoint, it would probably be easier just to open it back up. I think if we said, well, we're only opening it up for vaccine and not for anything else,
Right.
that creates a layer of administrative oversight that, frankly, I'm not sure how we would do that. So I think if we think it's appropriate to wave folks in and there's a need, that we just go back to the system we had before. And again, we can certainly do that if there's a need.
Well, I have tried without any success to plug in somewhere to administer. I responded to that state registry. I've heard nothing. And I've contacted the local health department. And again, have heard nothing.
And those are the ways that DHHS is requesting that folks who are interested in assisting go about that. I think the real issue right now, Bill, is that there's still not that much vaccine available. So the bottleneck here is not a lack of vaccinators. The bottleneck remains vaccine. But going through that, I do hope that I appreciate you going through the DHHS line up, because that's what even if they're not opportunities now, that's exactly what they are trying to gather, is who's available, qualified to do that. So as the vaccine supply increases, they've got a pool they've already identified and they can tap into very, very quickly.
Personally, I think once that vaccine starts flowing into pharmacies, that's where there's going to be a huge need of pharmacist vaccinators to plug in. But if you have a great relationship with your hospital system or your health department system, like Bill mentioned, just, connect with them to see if there's a way to help, because some pharmacists are itching to get in there, and that may be a way to at least get some experience and understand the process before pharmacists start getting it in their stores and in their hands to vaccinate people.
That's absolutely right, Ashley. And again, that's exactly what DHHS wants folks to do, as those two steps now.
Jay, I thought it was interesting. I found out this weekend, this is a little sidelight, but Cape Fear, at their hospital, their entire vaccination program of all the doses that are coming into Cape Fear is pharmacy run.
Right.
The intake and the whole ball of wax, which I thought was, I don't know how many other hospitals are doing that, but that's pretty impressive, I thought.
Buster's doing some good work down there, Andy Wallace.
Well, they made him retire, so he's, but he was telling me about it. But that's pretty impressive.
Yep. No, the pharmacists are being heavily utilized, I think, in all of the hospital systems. No question about that.
Yeah, and I can personally say on the health department side, the health department may not need you to vaccinate, but they can certainly use your help in other things. So that may just be helping out fill cards, helping out get forms to answer questions that people have, but there's a way that you can tie into that right now to help, because they're overwhelmed and they need as much help as they can get.
And I know, Ashley, and you could speak to this, I know better than I can, but I think a lot of the health departments too, particularly appreciate help with folks who can do the data entry stuff with the CVMS system to help them get folks through.
Yeah, and they, if you're tied in with your health department, they can also add you as a user so you can give vaccine as well. But again, that just depends on the health department and all that kind of stuff. But there's ways to get out there now and help if you're itching to get the experience.
All right, well, thanks everybody. So we'll hold where we are on the state of the reactivations, but certainly though, I'm not suggesting we hold just for the sake of holding. As needs are identified or requested from DHHS, I know that you all can and will move quickly to make any changes we need to make to fulfill those needs. So I'll keep you up to date with that, of course. With that, then I'm going to hand it over to Missy, who's going to update us on the renewal process thus far.
Good morning. Can y'all hear me?
Loud and clear, Missy Betts.
Okay, great. So I posted some, charts of the 2021 renewal comparatively to the 2020 renewal, and everything is lining up just like it has done in previous years. So let's see, as of January 13th, there were 16,324 pharmacists who have renewed. I checked the numbers again this morning, and 100 more pharmacists have renewed, so that's excellent. Things will keep, increasing slightly. There were only 3 more pharmacies from these numbers, and about 180 more techs had renewed. Those are the big ones. The percentages of the renewals are right there, 92% of pharmacists, 98% of pharmacies, which is usually the case. And most of my calls and emails are concerning, forgotten user information, login information. And I'm also getting, definitely an increase in the calls of immunization. But, with Jay's help, we're passing along the information that we have on the website and from DHHS. So those are the numbers. Since everything is going well, I don't have much more to report unless y'all have any questions.
Thanks, Missy. And a reminder to the members too that on the website, and Andy, this may be something you want to make sure you share as you guys are doing your courses. There is a blurb on the front page of the website that describes the process by which a pharmacist can go in and update their status to indicate that, and it's very, 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 very easy to do, but I want to make sure you point your folks to that, and I'll make sure that Austin Companion over at UNC gets the same I'll email that to you and Austin separately too, just so you'll have it and you can clip it if you need it.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah. Ashley and Michelle, just for you guys and the Budget and Finance Committee, y'all may recall that when we approved the budget at the May meeting last year, we all acknowledged that we had a little bit less confidence about what our income streams are going to look like this year because we didn't know how COVID was going to impact our renewal rates. And it certainly, as Missy has presented to you, it appears it's really not had any appreciable effect on our renewal rates. And so we had made some budgeting decisions based on some sort of holding things in reserve until we had a clearer picture about what our income streams are going to look like. And so Rhonda and JP are preparing some things for you, but it's sometime between now and the February meeting. I'll probably reach out to you guys to see if we might could get an hour to take a look at the actual budget versus the predicted budget and some potential adjustments we may want to make or not as you see fit, and bring those to the retreat in February for the full board's consideration. So we'll be in touch with y'all about that. Any other questions for Missy on the renewal process? Well, Missy, you and your staff are doing the terrific work that you always do. Thank you very, very much for that.
Of course.
Thank you, Missy.
Thanks. Thank you.
If we could just get folks to remember one of their login name, password, or security questions, then we'll have it licked all the way around, I think.
That's the goal for next year. We'll see if it happens.
Good luck with that.
Upward and onward. Thanks, Missy. Real quick, an update, and I know we're going to discuss the FDA's MOU next month as one of our topics, but I did just want to remind you all, I won't go through all the background on the history of the FDA's MOU. You all are familiar with that, of course, at this point, but recall that after the November meeting, you guys suggested, I think absolutely correctly, that we post the FDA's MOU and solicit commentary from any folks who were inclined to give it. And I got that posted very shortly after the November meeting. And we've left commentary open through February 1st. So we'll have whatever comments come in for you guys at the retreat next month, and we even set up a separate email address for the commentary to come in. So far, received one comment, and the comment in its entirety was, "My opinion is not to sign the MOU," but no explication on that. So certainly, if we get more input, I'll have that collected and ready for y'all next month. But so far, not a lot of engagement on that, which may indicate folks are fine with the MOU. I don't know, but it is what it is, as they say. But I'll pause there if you have any questions. All right, hearing none, that'll certainly be a subject of discussion next month. Another update, members, Epidiolex. This has proven to be a more complicated process for reasons that frankly have escaped me on this, but just an update. I think you all are aware that the the Drug Enforcement Administration announced in April of last year that it recommended descheduling of Epidiolex. And you all recall that Epidiolex is an FDA-approved cannabidiol product that is indicated for the treatment of certain particularly difficult to treat seizure disorders, and it particularly so in pediatric patients. And when Epidiolex was originally approved by the FDA, it was scheduled as a Schedule 5 controlled substance. And that was back in the days when cannabidiol was still within the definition of marijuana under federal law. Of course, it is not under the definition of marijuana under federal law anymore. And so DEA took a second look at whether Epidiolex should be scheduled. As a result of that, announced its intent to deschedule Epidiolex in April, and then completed the descheduling process on August 21st of last year. DEA's descheduling, however, does not immediately change Epidiolex's schedule under the North Carolina Controlled Substances Act. And so as we sit here at this moment, Epidiolex remains a Schedule 5 controlled substance under North Carolina law, which creates some obvious practical problems when you have a drug that's scheduled under state law but not under federal, and folks get confused about, well, what record keeping requirements and the like apply. But there's a process in the North Carolina Controlled Substances Act whereby the Department of Health and Human Services Commission for Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Abuse Services can, they're the body with the authority to deschedule, reschedule, or schedule anew a substance under North Carolina law. And there was a process whereby if the DEA or the DHHS at the federal level in general changes the schedule of a drug, the commission is required at its next regularly scheduled meeting that takes place 30 days after the federal action to consider whether or not to take the same action under state law. And it has been my experience through my entire 15 years here that each and every time the feds added, changed a schedule, that the commission did the same in pretty rapid order. This has been a longer process this time, and it's not clear to me why that is the case. On August 27th, the commission got a presentation on Epidiolex, but that was not far enough out. It was not 30 days after the final scheduling decision, so they couldn't do anything. But they took the matter back up at their November 19th meeting, but did not take any action. I understand that the reason for that may have been that the commission, that too many commission members didn't show up for the meeting, and they didn't have a quorum. But minutes of that meeting have not yet been posted, so I've heard that was the case, but I can't confirm that in minutes. But the commission convened an emergency meeting on January 7th to consider Epidiolex again. I have strong suspicions that they convened on January 7th because some outside forces basically asked why the heck they had not gotten this done yet. So they convened on January 7th. No minutes have been posted of that meeting yet, but it was verbally reported to me that the commission did unanimously vote to deschedule Epidiolex, and the anticipated effective date of that is March 1st of 2021. So if you get questions for anybody out in the field, we understand that the descheduling decision has been made and will be effective March 1st. And of course, if I'm right about all that and it happens on that date, we'll push out all of that information to pharmacists in North Carolina. But this was an oddly dilatory process by the commission to get this done, and I'm just not sure why that's the case. But better late than never, I suppose.
You think just stigma because it's a cannabinoid related product?
I literally have no idea, Andy, none, what happened with that.
Interesting.
The simple answer could be, Andy, it's just that the commission may be struggling with how it conducts its meetings here in a time of COVID, and maybe things just didn't get lined up as quickly as normal. But I have gotten a lot of calls about this.
can't imagine that groups and organizations are having difficulty handling meeting during COVID. I mean, that's
Not everybody is as tech savvy and engaged as you guys are. Any other questions on that, though? Again, it's not something we really have a specific role to play except to pass along information. All right.
It would be nice if that was effective retroactively to January 1 for record keeping purposes.
I agree, Bill. I don't think there's a process whereby that can happen, though. I will say though that I suspect that since it's been descheduled as a federal matter since August of last year, if somebody along the lines had made a record keeping goof because it's still scheduled at the state level, I can't imagine. Certainly, we would not be interested in any enforcement type activity on that. It's hard for me to imagine that drug control unit would be either. So. But your point is very well taken. We're about 50 minutes into it. Madam President, I wonder if now might be a good opportunity to take a short break to
We got a
deal with.
thumbs up from Bill, so I think he needs a little
I
break.
second that.
Yeah, we
second
got some coffee going this morning. So.
That's exactly right. I've had 3 cups of coffee already this morning. What do y'all think? 10 minutes then and reconvene at 11 o'clock. Sound good?
Sounds perfect.
Yes, sure.
All right. Thus we shall do it. Thanks, everybody. Clint, so 1:30 with Johnny is good for you on Friday? You're muted, but I think you were saying yes. Hey, Wallace, your background picture, I assume that's somewhere near you. I can't, you're mute. I guess they permanently muted you.
Ah, there we go.
There you
We
go.
got that. That is the an old white house thing, you know, one of those that were out in the Sound. I think it marked Manio Harbor, but they moved it to downtown Manio.
That's beautiful.
Have you ever seen the one they moved to Edenton?
I don't think I have.
I have to try to send you a picture of that because that's pretty impressive. That one marked the entry to the Roanoke River.
Okay.
And it was it's called a screw type thing where they used to take metal posts that had screws, auger type screws on the bottom of them, and that's what they screwed into the bottom.
Oh yeah, so like those helical piers they use to fix foundations. They say I unfortunately know something about that because my first house that I owned in DC was sinking into the earth, and we had to.
Yeah, that's
to
no
use
fun.
some of those.
That is no fun. So I'm gonna have how do you add a new picture?
Don't get crazy in the middle of the meeting, Wallace.
I'm not.
Hey, good morning. I apologize. May I ask a question?
Who's speaking, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Najim Anwar. Very lucky to work with Walmart up in Western North Carolina.
What's your question, Najim?
I apologize again. I just wanted to understand if I'm missing something. The link for the Microsoft Teams to have the video component, it's not working, and I just wanted to see if there was an easy fix for that by chance.
Jay, I'll take it. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Eugene, I'm seeing that there are other users that actually did click on that link. Are you viewing it via a browser or through your Teams app?
Teams app.
Okay, and are you using it on Walmart system or outside of Walmart system? Yeah, it could be that it's being blocked by their firewall.
Understood. Okay, I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Well, Ashley, I think it's 11 o'clock, and it looks like we've got. Well, actually, wait. Make sure Bill's back. Make sure Bill's back.
I'm here.
Okay, good. Hey, Clint, mute yours for a second. I'm getting some background noise. I don't know if it's. Yeah, it's coming from you. Thank you. All right, Madam President, I think we are ready to resume if y'all are.
Yep, sounds good. Looks like we're handing it over to JP.
Well, for just a real quick update, COVID-19 drug preservation. No, that's quite all right. Just a quick update. That rule is scheduled to go before the Rules Review Commission on Thursday. Clint will be there for that. Clint, any updates you want to give?
Nope, they had one grammatical change. They had a very good question about the interaction between our rule and the med board and the nursing board rules, but I don't anticipate any issues.
So that should be taken care of on Thursday, and that would be the last action we have to take on that, right? Until such time as COVID goes away and we repeal the rule. But thanks, Clint. And yes, now we'll tee up JP to give us a financial report.
Good morning, everybody. You hear me all right?
Loud and clear.
All right. So real quick, we're good. November and December, as you all know, that was sort of the bulk of our renewal season. And that's what we saw indeed happen. Right now, we're about 85, 86% of our revenues budgeted for the year have come in. That said, there's still some categories that haven't quite reached their annual budget forecasts. And as Jay had mentioned, we did conservatively budget for quite a decrease just with all the unknowns with the turn down and the pandemic restrictions. So over the next 2 months, as you all know, it's a leeway period for individuals. So pharmacists and technicians may still be renewing in January and February. So we had budgeted for that accordingly. So I think we'll see some more of those numbers tick up as well during these next 2 months. And then we could see device DME renewals, I think, all the way through the end of March. Those will continue ticking up. But that said, we are at 85% or so of our budgeted revenues for the year. And as you all know, due to the pandemic restrictions, our operating activities have been severely limited as well. So we're still quite a bit under budget with our operating activity expenses. That said, we do have some larger ticket items that have managed to get the wheels rolling here in the last month, which is always good to be accomplishing stuff during this time when it's so difficult. Anyhow, overall, our balance sheet, we're good. Got money in the bank. Don't have any huge liabilities. Everything looks good. If there's any questions, I'm happy as always to dive way down into the weeds.
Thanks, JP. Any questions for JP? And like I said, Ashley and Michelle will be in touch with y'all sometime here over the next couple of weeks. JP, thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you, guys.
One small action item. First Citizens Bank, which holds one of our long-term investment reserve accounts, as you all know, they like to periodically update their records as to who at the Board of Pharmacy is authorized to execute documents that have to do with that account. And the last time we did one of those was 2011. And certainly time to update that. And so you have behind your financial report update a proposed corporate resolution that would authorize me, Kristen, and Rhonda to execute documents to manage the long-term investment account. Kristen and I have been on this since 2011. Gail Brantley was authorized, of course, because she was the director of finance at the time, and so we thought now would be the time to make sure that Rhonda has been added to that. So that's what that is. Happy to answer any questions, and this would be an item that would require a motion to act on.
I move that we allow, execute this and allow the Jay and Rhonda and Kristen to
I'll second
be
that.
representatives.
All right, so we have a motion by Wallace, a second by Beal. So all in favor in having the Finance and Human Resource Director to execute the documents for the board's First Citizen long-term investment account. All in favor say aye. Andy?
Yes, aye.
Keith?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Beal?
Aye.
Wallace?
Aye.
And I as well. So motion carries.
Thanks, y'all. And Ashley, we'll get the internal signatures here, and then if it's all right with you, I will FedEx this out to you. And have you got it notary handy? You could sign this and get it notarized.
Yes, I can.
I'll send this out to you by FedEx and with a
Okay.
return FedEx envelope to get that done.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, let me make a note here. All right, thanks, y'all. Josh Kohler, I think you're the man on the spot now for the investigations and inspections docket report.
Yes, sir, I am. Good morning, everybody. So for this month, I want to thank Cindy for printing out the stats for the last few years, 18, 19, 20. You'll see on the chart for the investigative cases, things run pretty even for the years. The AOC charges, diversion, of course, the other categories, error and omissions, incident report, inspection follow-up. Then we have other, and then procedural legal and substance abuse. Of course, what cases we investigate, is, I don't want to say random, but it's what we get, and if we can look into it, we do. You'll notice that our grand totals are quite different for the last 3 years. Of course, 2018 we had 350. 2019 was a very busy year with 420, and then 2020, despite the folks not being out in the field for 10 months or so, we still ended up with 331 cases. I know our folks are somewhat itching to get back out into the field as well to do inspections, investigations, and I guess probably just kind of get away from whoever else is residing in their home. So, do you have any questions about the
don't project? You shouldn't project like that, Josh. Just because people want you out of your house doesn't mean.
Well, I live alone, so sometimes I just need to get away from myself.
Yeah, that raises a whole other set of issues that we might.
Exactly. So, again, does anyone have any questions about the case types or the number of cases or anything for the last few years?
I just like to point out that it's good to see that diversion has gone down some. That's really good to see from 2019 to 2020.
Yes, it did. It did drop significantly. Yeah, from 39 to 35 to 25. Yeah, it did. The AOC cases, those ran pretty consistent for the last 3 years. And I guess the other ones that kind of ran consistent were the procedural legal cases. All right. So moving on then, for the voluntary surrenders, again, Cindy made this great chart for the last 3 years, 18, 19, and 20. And again, our, categories here are the CPPs, DMEs, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, pharmacy, and pharmacists. Grand totals ran pretty even as well. Of course, again, it all depends upon the case that we get and the circumstances and evidence, as to whether or not we're going to ask for a surrender. You can see the CPPs, DMEs, nurse practitioners, it was just one. And then pharmacists, we ran 5 for 2020, and then 11 for 2019, and then 10 for 2018. Of course, technicians seem to be the highest category, kind of as usual. But those ran kind of consistently as well with 2018 and 17. And again, you'll see the grand totals running pretty consistent as well. I know our folks do a fantastic job, working these type cases where surrender is inevitable, or the evidence, ends up pointing to that. And, our folks are great at, obtaining these vendors as well. So I want to thank them for all their work for that. So any questions regarding the surrenders? All right, well, hearing none, again, I just want to say that, despite being at home, our folks have done a fantastic job. I can name all 11 of them, who do such a good job, over the last year with this COVID stuff, and working from home, doing their best, getting interviews and paperwork regarding their cases. The handful of times that our folks had to go out either to get a statement or for an inspection, especially on the inspection side, they were calling ahead for the pharmacist to get a fair amount of paperwork together to decrease their time in the pharmacy. To decrease the time for any possible exposure. But again, our folks, I'm sure, do a fantastic job of gowning up, with PPE or whatever they put on to go in and do these things. So can't say enough good things about our folks over this past year. It's been a difficult one, to say the least.
Any questions or comments for Josh or for or for Ellen or Crystal, any of the team there? All right. Thank you, Josh.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Board member election update. Kristen, you want to give us a quick update?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. This will be a pretty quick update, just like last month. No problems to report. Everything seems to be running smoothly. As of this morning, we had 2,083 votes, falling a little behind to where we were last year with vote count, but who knows, maybe we'll catch up. So that represents about 16% of eligible pharmacists who are eligible to vote. I think Keith or someone had asked last month about how that stacks up against North Carolina pharmacists who have or have not renewed their license. So as of this morning, I think Missy's stats were for all. I'm going to give you for North Carolina only. It looks like about 95% of North Carolina pharmacists have renewed already. So, don't see the number of votes spiking, but we'll certainly keep getting out with 1 month plus a few days left in voting. Certainly get the word out again that if you've already renewed, you can still go back in and cast your vote. So we'll do our best on that. That's all I have to report on that. I do know that Jay and I wanted to, sorry, having some feedback. Jay and I wanted to get your opinions on a meeting March 2nd. Is that right, Jay?
Yeah, the voting will conclude on March 1st, and Kristen and will review the results, and Antoine will help, and we'll make sure we have everything where we need to be. And ideally would like to meet, if possible, by phone, of course, on Tuesday, March 2nd, for you guys and the candidates to receive the results, review them, and certify them as appropriate. And also, if at that time there's going to be a need for a runoff election, we'll be able to talk about what the process for that would be. So just March 2nd, I'd suggested 10 a.m., but I don't think we're really locked in terms of any particular time. But if March 2nd at 10 looks pretty good, we can go ahead and get that locked in.
That looks good to me. I don't know what everybody else feels about that date and time.
I'm okay.
I'm good.
Wallace and Michelle, how are y'all feeling about that? Keith's got a thumbs up. Michelle's got a thumbs up. Wallace has a thumbs up. Bill, you were good too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Andy, you're good, right?
Yes, ma'am. The sooner the better.
All righty. It looks like we're good for that date and time.
Terrific. Thank you all very much. We'll get that on your calendar and on our calendars and be ready to do that. Kristen, thank you for making this election go as smoothly as they do when you're in charge.
Sure. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So next month, obviously, we will be doing sort of our version of a virtual retreat. And it will occur at the same time and the same date as our regularly scheduled board meeting. So that will be Tuesday, February 16th. I've provided each of you with a list of the topics that we've got on the docket. There was one additional one we have, and that's discussing the annual review process for the executive director. So that's going to be added as well. Appreciate you guys offline have weighed in on the topics. We've still got time to add or remove, as the case, as your preference may be. I would say that probably we need to know that within about a week if there's anything else we want to add or take off, so that staff will have time to make sure we have the appropriate background stuff for you at the retreat. Do want to highlight one, Bill and Wallace on limited service permit rulemaking. Crystal and Chase and I are going to be in touch with you guys here in the very near future. We've got, when I say we, I mean Crystal and Chase have had their ducks in a row for quite some time. I've now got my ducks in a row on that, and we've got some things for you guys to take a look at and review and ask questions about, so we can report on that at the retreat. So I'll be in touch with you guys about setting that up.
Okay.
So the virtual retreat will start at 10, like our normal board meeting, correct?
Yeah, we can adjust if you guys need to. But we will start at 10. We'll do the business things that we have to do, the normal business things we have to do: minutes, financial report, docket report, any consent agenda items, and any closed session items, and go ahead and do those at 10. And as soon as we have concluded those, we'll move into the retreat. And you each will have catered lunches at your individual places and an open bar in the afternoon. No, I'm kidding about that.
Jay, I have one question too. That
Sure.
Monday the 15th is President's Day, and I'm not sure how the board does that for pre-hearing conferences. Is that going to be a problem, or are you guys going to be doing pre-hearing conferences that day?
Clint, I don't know what our pre-hearing docket looks like for February. I can't remember.
I do not have any scheduled yet. We have historically scheduled on holidays such as that, but
Okay.
we don't have to because we don't have anything pressing.
I'm good.
Ellen.
I just wanted to double check. That's my month, and so I was just verifying that we could still do it that day if anything.
Oh, we
changed.
can.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
we certainly can if you can.
Oh,
Ellen,
yeah.
I don't know if you were weighing in, if there was anything you had.
I don't think we have anything on the docket yet. At this
We'll keep you
point,
posted.
with notice, yeah.
Sounds
We'll
good.
keep you posted, Ashley. I think probably
And I'm only
unlikely.
closed on Christmas Day. I'm just not sure if that's a federal holiday. I don't keep up with that stuff. So I just wanted to double check.
I was going to describe it as a non-important or non-grilling holiday.
Okay.
We do meet on non-grilling holidays.
I have a question about the retreat.
Sure, go ahead, Bill.
So there's no ethics training that we have to do?
No, thanks for asking that, Bill. Appreciate it. Everybody is up to date on ethics training. So we're good on that. And we're not due for the statutory training update yet either.
No, y'all only have to be trained every 2 years. We do it every year just in case somebody's absent, but we did it for Wallace and Michelle in the fall.
So we're all good.
So is there any appetite among the other board members to start at 9 since we have a long day? And would that be a big imposition, Jay?
Oh, no, not at all. Staff-wise, we can start whenever y'all prefer. No problem here.
I'm going to be difficult for a second. Jay, I think I had mentioned to you I was closing on our new house on the day before, but that is apparently a holiday that I cannot close on. So I'm going to try to get our closing early that morning, as early as possible. Can I email everybody and let you guys know what time that is? Because I'm good with 9 if we can do the closing at 8. I'm sorry to be difficult.
No, it's not being difficult.
No, and I think that's fine, Ashley. I just, as soon as you know,
Okay.
just let us know and we'll adjust.
I'll be able to get that taken care of hopefully today or tomorrow and be able to let you guys know.
And we are just planning on one day for the retreat, right?
Right, that's right. We should be able to get it. We can go as long as y'all need to go, but I feel pretty confident we'll be able to move through in a single day on that. No whitewater rafting this time. All right, well, we're working away here. Like I say, Bill and Wallace, be on the lookout here for me and Crystal and Chase to get up with you guys on the limited service permit stuff. All right. Go ahead, Keith.
Is it okay to go ahead and mention the March meeting when I had emailed you about?
Yeah. I have it on my list here, and now is the perfect time. Go right ahead, Keith.
I was wanting to see if there would be a possibility we could either move the March meeting date to a week before or a week after. That actually happens to fall, or the scheduled meeting date falls on my boys' spring break, and we've got to go somewhere or we're going to go insane. So if
that's a short trip for us all these days, Keith.
Dude, it's like a step out of the room for me. So would you guys have a problem with moving it either a week before or a week after?
From a staff perspective, we're good in either direction. I'd have a slight preference for a week later, just so we'd have more, but whatever y'all want, we can accommodate here.
Well, our schedule's already made out till then, and I'm actually committed to work on the 9th, so it would be the 23rd would be better for me of those two, which I don't have a problem with moving it.
I'm good with the 23rd as well.
I'm not seeing any objections, Ashley. So
no objection.
Are y'all checking now?
And we got a feedback there.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. No, I'm fine with the 20th.
I'm good.
All right. Well, we'll get that moved on our calendar to the 23rd, and we'll plan to do it there. And Keith, probably some more than well-deserved relaxation for you and Sarah and the boys.
Thank you guys for accommodating me.
Yeah, man. You're such a difficult person to accommodate, Keith. My gosh.
I hear that a lot.
It's not true. Very good. Well, then, next thing is would be consent agendas, and you've got documents there under a tab relating to Rick Chambers. And Clint, why don't you go ahead and introduce for the board members what this is and why?
Yeah, this is something unusual, but not very rare for us to do. I will give you a vague summary of Mr. Chambers' case because that's all the summary I can give you, which is Mr. Chambers is a pharmacist who lives in Tennessee. He owned 2 North Carolina pharmacies. Leading up to this year, those pharmacies were in financial distress. He didn't have enough inventory. He also didn't have enough staffing and didn't have the will to transfer the prescriptions to other people because he was hoping the balls would all stay in the air. The pharmacist managers essentially pleaded for us to put them out of their misery. And so in March, you summarily suspended both permits and summarily suspended his license. He sold the pharmacies and asked for a hearing on the summary suspension, at which he would have argued, well, I live in Tennessee and I'll practice in North Carolina. I don't own these pharmacies anymore, and so there's no more imminent threat. You should lift the summary suspension and we'll have a hearing eventually, which is not a half bad argument. But he really did not want his license back. He really had no intention to practice in North Carolina. Okay. He just didn't think the summary suspension should continue. So we reached an agreement to present to you a consent order that terminates the summary suspension, saying he doesn't practice here, has never practiced here, doesn't own any pharmacies here anymore, along with an agreement that he is not going to come back. So we're not going to have to deal with him. So for your consideration is this consent order that would moot the summary suspension and let him move on to his life in Tennessee.
So board members, questions, comments on that?
So just
I think
I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead, Keith.
So just some, for clarification, maybe just for, situations like this in the future, this actually could potentially be to his benefit because it would really show no disciplinary action in other states. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. The summary suspension will always show and has been reported to the National Practitioner Data Bank. So the fact that he was summarily suspended is out there in the data bank, but upon lifting the summary suspension, there would be an update showing that it had been lifted.
Okay. Because I'm assuming he's going to be continuing to practice in Tennessee. Is that?
I'm not positive about that, but I will tell you, Keith, that the Tennessee Board of Pharmacy is entirely aware of what happened here in North Carolina. So they're not going to. There's not any chance that by taking this action that Tennessee would not have found out about what happened or the like. They're very much aware.
Okay. Well, honestly, the reason I'm asking, if he's got it turned around in Tennessee, I just don't want to see. I don't want us to penalize him unnecessarily. Is what I.
Right, and this certainly would not do that. To the contrary, it would indicate that the problems that led to his summary suspension have been resolved, and he's free to go on about his slot.
And Jay, just to clarify, he actually didn't work in North Carolina. He just owned his pharmacy in North Carolina.
That's correct. The concern at the time, the reason we acted on his individual, I'm getting some weird feedback. Can folks? There we go. The reason we acted on his license in March was there was a concern that if his license was not acted upon, he could come into North Carolina. And Wallace, I think you're the echo, man. When you went live,
I'm trying.
There we go. There was concern that he might come in and try to continue getting in the way of prescriptions being transferred out and the like. And so that's why we acted on his individual license. But he wasn't actively practicing in North Carolina at the time. And as he's indicated, he doesn't plan to do so in the future.
Is there any other questions or concerns with this one? Jay, I'm assuming we need a motion, right?
Correct. This would be a motion to approve the consent agenda of which this is the item.
Keith's got another question. No, Keith is maybe making a motion. Keith is making a motion. Keith is making a motion to summarily suspend. Bill is giving me the number 2 as to second that motion. And so
actually,
now,
just to be clear, we're not summarily suspending. This would be a motion to accept the consent agenda items, which would lift his summary suspension and execute the agreement, not to reactivate the license.
For clarifying that, Jay. So we have a motion from Keith, a second from Bill. All those in favor say aye. Andy?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Wallace?
Aye.
Keith?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye, Andy.
And I as well. The motion
Thank you. Ashley, do I have your permission to sign your name on the order lifting the summary suspension?
Yeah, it's the standing order, Jay. You know, you got my checkbook too last time.
I know. I tell you, it's been a very Merry Christmas at the Campbell House this year.
And the beach.
That's right. That then concludes the items we have for open session. We do have a need to go into a closed session for a potential summary suspension. If there's anything else we need to discuss in open session, now would be the time, because at such times we go into closed session, folks will be disconnected and will come back in only to adjourn. And I see Clint is calling for his
closed session. I will also provide you with a short litigation update.
Very good. Thank you, Clint. So anything else for open session?
So is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
Andy is going to make that. Michelle has given me a number 2. I like these. I like these things. All right. So all in favor say aye. Keith?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Wallace?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
And I as well. So we will go into closed session.
Very good. So we'll give it a few moments here while Antoine confirms that we are in fact in closed session. So we'll hang on that. And Brent Slaughter is going to present the potential summary suspension item. We'll just give it a few minutes here, a few moments.
Also, Jay, there were no comments in the
Okay,
chat
good.
session.
Thank you, Antoine.